Recently, the Catalyst team travelled up to the Kendal Mountain Festival in the Lake District to meet up with Max, the future Milne, and Jim Pope, 2 professional climbers who compete on the world stage for Team GB. This episode is slightly different than our usual style. It's more of a hybrid of an interview, podcast, and an informal chat. So make a tea, watch on your commute or at work, and strap in and enjoy an insight into the elite mindset, discovering what separates good climbers from the very best.
Talk about this because we saw each other last weekend for a comp, but I'm pretty focused on the comp. We don't get to sit and chat much. So yeah, like we were saying in the intro, I think you two, as very experienced competitors from the World Cup, so you would have a more informed opinion about what it really takes to be top level athletes in the competition circuit. So I've got a whole bunch of questions I wanted to ask. I think everyone's going to be really excited to hear the answers. Sound all right?
Sounds good.
Sweet. Okay. I gave them the option of like, do you want to see the questions first? And they're like, no, on site only. Okay. So first one, I thought we'd start with what actually makes a good competitor.
First thing that jumps to mind is can handle pressure or deal with the variables in competitions. It's not like you're going out and you've been trying this boulder for like 3 months and you know exactly like the conditions. It's forever changing. So it's like just adapting to situations.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think for sure there's so many factors which will contribute to it. Like as well as that, you need to be strong, you need to have good endurance, you need to have all the physical side of things, but I do think the like mental side of things is like a really big factor and probably one of the more determining factors of what will separate the good from the best.
Any moves which if you read it in a comp, you'd be like, oh, yes, that's my thing. What would be your absolute dream to come up on every boulder?
For me, it's easy, isn't it? It's some sort of hop, skip, and a jump. It's like something dynamic. It's not necessarily a huge move. It's more complex coordination. It's just my strength. It's like, of course, I want my strength to come up in competition and me to flash that and other people to follow it. But
I'm a bit of a like jack of all trades, master of none, just kind of like, but all right at most things. But I think when I come out and see like a power endurance boulder, maybe on like loads of like really burly and pinches, but not so basic that you just pull between them. I like it when it's like power, but with an element of like technique in there. So maybe you need to use your legs and your body position to like keep you on the wall kind of thing. But it is still just about like if you can hold the holds hard enough to stay up.
He says he's a jack of all trades, but on a pinch he'll burn anyone.
I was about to say, like, he's monstrous on pinches. There's times on the board at the castle that you've set where I was like, oh, Jim set this. I can tell because it's impossible unless you've got vices to hand. Go on, Jim.
What hold was it again?
5, yeah.
What?
Oh! Okay, then shoes off.
Yes.
Banger! God damn!
Mr. Biff!
Mr. Biff! Man! Whoa!
Yeah, good, come on.
Come on.
Yeah, good.
Yeah!
Come on, 55. Yeah. 67. 67.
The fake out at the top as well. Oh wow, okay. Being really good at a certain style is all well and good, but like, and Max says like, oh, I'm really good at coordination boulders, but you're also pretty good. That's like your preferred style, but you're also really consistent on slabs, really consistent on just basic power boulders. Must be quite hard to keep on top of all your bases at once.
Yeah, for sure. Like when I grew up in Aberdeen, it was like I didn't have a slab.
You just had a board, right?
No, so it was like there was vert 10, barrel 45, and roof. There was never enough boulders to play on, or when I was first growing up to like really get good on the slabs. So I just go on the 45 and get really strong. And I was like, okay, if I could be stronger than everyone on all the boulders, my mindset back then was like, okay, I'll win. But then when the comps got more complex and it was like more volume standing and more jumps, I had to be like way more playful in the center and like come up with new ways to use the angles. But I was really poor at slab climbing, and then moved down to Leeds and Mark made me drill slabs all the time, and he still does, because last year that was maybe one of my strengths, was I'd do the slab boulder. Where this year, I don't know if I've done any. So next year, I'm going to do all the slabs again.
It's just mad how each year there might just be a trend of like what is really important, and this year the slabs were like super important. Most people in some rounds, maybe no boulders would get done except the slab, and you had to do the slab to make the final, and then the same in finals, like you had to do the slab to get on the podium or something. So it'll be interesting to see whether it like carries on, and you know, maybe now everyone thinks, oh, you need to get really good at slabs, and you train that really hard, and then next year the setters just decide, oh, we're gonna focus on this year, and maybe it's power boulders and pinches, and
What do you think it is that you're doing specifically differently? Maybe being a bit more intentional about something, which means you're learning faster than other people. Go on, Jim, you look like you got a good answer.
Yeah, I think like the intention is the biggest part of it. Like, I like the example of once you can drive, you drive all the time, but you don't necessarily get better at driving, even though you're doing hours and hours and hours of it. Because when you drive, you just get in the car, switch off, go from A to B. But if you were consciously thinking of, right, how could I take this corner better, or how could I shift gears better, then you probably would get better at driving. And I think a lot of people go to the gym and they think, oh, I'm at the wall, I'm here for 2 hours, I'm trying hard, I'm going to get better. But it's more like being really analytical. So like after each attempt, like, oh, why was that good? Why wasn't that good? What did they do differently? Deliberate practice is like really key, I think, for me.
Something like Jim and Hamish is so good at, like they can think and analyze a lot, where I top a boulder and I come down and like, oh, so you put your left foot there. I'm like, no, I didn't. I had my right foot on. And it really helps me to learn, because I'm so like lost in that sense.
Do you think there's any other, not related to climbing, but activities you two get up to which are helpful indirectly with your climbing?
You can learn from every aspect of life, or for me especially, like, okay, as a competitor, or if I want to win, I have to be really good at climbing. So I have to train really hard, and training really hard is often really hard and mentally draining. But like the biggest, like hardest thing I've dealt with in life is my mum passed away when I was like 10 years old. So that was so hard to deal with, and that was a shit time. And that was the reason I got into climbing, was because my dad wanted me to do something to take my mind off it, or have an escape. And it was like, learning to deal with those emotions has helped me learn to deal with failures in climbing. Maybe that's been one of my weaknesses this year or whatever, but it's like I still would say that's something was helped me and will always help me. Is like, okay, I've dealt with this hardship. Climbing is not going to be as hard as that. So it's pretty grounding, and it's something I need to maybe come back to more as I get older. It's like, okay, this happened, I can get through that. Okay, I didn't top this boulder, it's no big deal. And it gives me like, it's nice to have such a hard time and then find this passion, and feel like I connect with my mom every time I go climbing, because in a way she gave me this sport.
One of the things I think is most impressive about people who compete a lot is the mental resilience required to over and over and over again put like all of your time and energy and passion in something, put it all on the line, and then not get the result you want. And then you invest everything in it again, then you do it again. How do you guys deal with just setbacks and not getting the results you want to?
It's only a failure if you view it as a failure. Like, ultimately, if you've not got the result you wanted, no one thinks any differently of you. You're still the same person, and like the world keeps turning, nothing's going to change. But it just goes back to society. You want to feel accepted, don't you? Yeah. And if you're really into something and you invest a lot of time in it, so for us, climbing is where we feel accepted or whatever. So if you feel like if you associate that with your results, then it's going to be hard. But when I coach quite a lot of younger athletes, and they all compete as well. And I think when you're young, it's really easy to just totally associate like your result or your climbing grade or with like your self-worth. Yes. And if they don't do well in a comp, they're like, oh, everyone's going to hate me. Like, I've everyone's so ashamed, and I always just say to them like, oh, when I came 80th in this World Cup in the summer, like, did you suddenly just like not like me anymore? And they're always like, "Ooh." And then they're like, oh yeah, it's fine. But
at the moment, I'm really going through that because 2 years ago I was my first senior World Cup competitions. I made my first final. Then last year, I made my first podium. So this year I was like, okay, I'm gonna win a World Cup.
Yeah.
That was a big aim. I wanted to win the overall. Actually, I aimed for that, and I didn't make a final again.
Yeah.
Think about it now, I get super annoyed, and it's something I'm going through now, and I have to. In training at the moment, I've been way more negative or way more angry, and Mark's helping me get through that, and gym and other people I love. So it's like, yes, I was sitting at the dinner table with Matt, my manager, and he's like, "You're a real comp climber now," and I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Well, you've had an outbreak for a season, but this is where it really starts." He's like, Timor has only won 6 World Cups, so it's like, it's not easy. Now you're really feeling that, and now I'm like, okay, this is what is actually what it's about, and so I'm learning to deal with that at the moment, which I guess a lot of people are struggling with as well. So I can empathize. That is hard.
Thank you so much. So folks, if you enjoyed it, like the video, subscribe to the channel, make sure you follow these guys on Instagram. We'll pop it in the description just below, and we'll see you next time. Thank you, everybody.
cheers.
Bye, you two.